Hello there and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. I'm the RNGenius, but you may call me Eric, and in the last episode we left off in Trista. We are just about to do our first, or we're about to engage in our first free day off of school. And we've got a couple of little quests to do that we got assigned to from the student council. But Eric, why are you on the main screen of the game? Well, nice question there. We started chapter 1, and that means we get a new title screen. There's not just Rean and Eliza in the train now. There's Gaius and there's Elliot as well. We're all going to some destination somewhere off into the far end. Alright, I don't know what into the far end means, but we're still gonna do this. We're still gonna do this. I mean, you're really excited about this story right now, right? You're really excited about us going and continuing our adventure, but thing is, I gotta read through this book. I got a new book, mans. Got this great book. Bomber. There. The Red Moon. Our story begins in Erebonia during the Middle Ages. Some 200 years ago, the War of the Lines had concluded the Western Zemuria, and Emperor Drygal's, a driving force behind its resolution, had been deceased for over a decade. The imperial capital, Heimdallr, was a beautiful traditional city with rows of cheerful red brick buildings that had earned it the nickname the Vermilion Capital. In one back alley of the city, however, a solemn mood reigned. Soldiers in military uniforms paced up and down, while a crowd of onlookers gathered to see what was going on. They clung to the edges of the scene, refusing to disperse, no matter how many times they were asked. At the center of the commotion lay a young woman. Her skin was shockingly pale, as if not a drop of blood ran through her veins. On her neck, two dark red spots stood out, in stark contrast to the pallid flesh. Seeing this, a middle-aged soldier let out a loud sigh and took out his pocket watch. It was just after 6. He gave a curt order to his subordinates to find out who she was, and the woman's body was swiftly carried away from the curious stares of the gawkers. After watching her safely borne away, he noticed a younger soldier following the woman with his eyes as well. Alphonse. He tapped the young man on his shoulder. The soldier started, seeming to realize that he was still on duty. Sorry, Gerard. Somewhat flustered, Alphonse adjusted his beret, then hung his head apologetically. Though snapped from his reverie, it was clear that he still had something on his mind. I believe I've told you before to address me as Sir while on duty. I am your commanding officer after all, Gerard said jokingly. With a fond pat on the shoulder, Gerard reminded him to stay focused and then left to give orders to the rest of his subordinates. Alphonse quickly returned to his post, silently grateful for Gerard's characteristically thoughtful gesture. Watching this exchange was another young soldier, the same age as Alphonse. Scowling unpleasantly, he gave an audible tut. The girl's untimely demise, though shocking, was but one in a series of grisly murders that were the talk of the town. Most of the victims were young women who had been out at night, and they had all met their ends through loss of blood. Or, put another way, the victims had died after having all of the blood drained from their bodies. Furthermore, all of the bodies which had been found had something else in common. Each had bite marks on their neck, as if they had been pierced by incredibly sharp fangs. It didn't take long for word of this to start to spread amongst the people of Heimdallr, and all who heard the rumors were quick to think of one of the many ancient legends which existed in Erebonia. Specifically, the legend that described immortal, monstrous creatures which roamed the land at night, feeding on the blood of humans. It was these very legends that eventually became the inspiration for the mass killings' new moniker, the Vampire Murders. That night, after his duties were complete, Alphonse made his way to a small tavern, tucked away in a corner of the capital by the name of Allegria, to enjoy a late evening meal. As he sat down to his dinner, a pretty girl near his own age with a glossy chestnut ponytail studied him with obvious concern. So, how is it, Alfie? Is it nice? I hope so. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. The girl, Luca, had been Alphonse's friend since his arrival in Heimdallr about 10 years before. A shy, nervous smile tugged at her lips as she continued to watch him. Alphonse felt a hot blush creep up his neck under her intense gaze, but he forced himself to eat. The beef stew she had made had a simple yet comforting taste to it. "Yeah," he reassured her, "it's really good. You've really gotten the hang of this." Luca relaxed at his words, and with a few quick self-conscious glances at the rest of the tavern customers, she seated herself opposite to him. Her courage seemed spent after this gesture, though, and they sat in awkward silence for some time until she managed to hesitate. "How's work these days?" At the word work, Alphonse's hand, which was carrying food to his mouth, instantly came to a halt. Despite the so-called vampire murders going on for quite some time, they had been unable to find a single clue to the culprit behind it all. The corpse of the woman from that afternoon flashed across his mind's eye, and the pleasant flavor of the stew died on his tongue. So young, she must have had family, friends, perhaps even a partner, just like anyone else. She had had her whole life ahead of her, and yet that life had been brought to a sudden end, just like so many others before her. What the criminal had done was unforgivable, but the reprehensible nature of the crimes wasn't the only reason that Alphonse was obsessed with this case. No, sadly for him, there was very little that he could do to solve it now that he had been removed from the investigation team. Lucas's soft voice brought him back from his own thoughts. "Alfie, just don't go overdoing it, okay?" Her kind words made Alphonse realize how tense his expression must have become. Her concern embarrassed him. "I'm fine, honestly," he said in what he hoped was a reassuring voice. Alphonse was a member of a unit of the Imperial Army, popularly known as the Gerard Team, which was responsible for maintaining law and order in Heimdallr. Gerard, the team's commanding officer, had long cared for Alphonse like a father, and it was his recommendation that led Alphonse to join the army and become a member of the team. Since then, he lived in a dormitory next to the army's guardhouse. His meal at the tavern finished, he sketched Luca a quick goodbye and took his usual route back towards the dormitory. An eerie, red-colored moon hung full in the sky, bathing the brick buildings in a betwitching carmine glow. Walking along, Alphonse couldn't help but notice that the number of people on the streets at night was much smaller of late. Considering the culprit behind the vampire murders still hadn't been found, that was hardly surprising though. And yet, despite the fact that barely anyone dared to take to the streets, new victims kept appearing one after another, as if to mock the soldiers who patrolled in the dead of night to keep them safe. The sense of fear in the city increased by the day, and was a deep unease shared by all, even the soldiers. Silently he swore to himself yet again that he would stop at nothing to catch whoever was responsible and bring them to justice. Suddenly Alphonse stopped in his tracks, his troubled thoughts interrupted by the sight of an unaccompanied woman walking ahead of him. The deep shadows blanketing the place. The path made it difficult to be certain, but she seemed unsteady on her feet. To his further surprise, she then turned and disappeared down an even darker back alley. Considering the ongoing vampire murders, it was hard to believe that anyone could be so careless. With a resolute air, Alphonse set about following the woman, determined to call out to her and try to prevent her from coming to any harm. He entered the back alley. Gloom obscured all but the sharpest of angles. He squinted, willing his eyes to adjust. The soft outline of a woman's back took shape in the depths of the alley. Excuse me, miss. I'm not sure it's wise to be... Alphonse forgot what he was going to say. Something was wrong. Slowly, the woman turned to face him. Her head hung limply to the side, long hair masking her face. A hint of eyes could be seen through the wild locks, but they held no focus, no awareness. She opened her mouth and moaned. Horrified by the disturbing figure before him, Alphonse froze. In an instant she was on him, arms outstretched. She lunged and seized his neck in a crushing grip. Taken completely by surprise, he fell backwards, the weight of her pinning him down. Slowly, methodically, she began to squeeze. "Gah!" he croaked. That was a weird croak. How could that seemingly lifeless woman be capable of such unnatural strength? No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't pry her hands from around his windpipe. All this training, his useful strength, None of it seemed to count for anything against those unyielding claws. Her fingers dug deeper still, and the already painful absence of air became indescribable agony. From his low vantage point, Alphonse was able to see more of the woman's face now. It swam in and out of view of his oxygen-starved brain, but her pale flesh was almost luminous against the darkness of the night. Her lips were chapped and colorless. As she squeezed, they began to part in a hungry leer, the edges splitting. Dinner. Although Alphonse could barely understand what was happening, his instincts knew exactly what the woman was about to do. He bucked and writhed desperately in her grip, but her hold was too great. Black began seeping into his vision. Even as he remembered the saber belted to his waist, he was too weak to draw it. The blank-eyed woman thrust her face eagerly towards his neck, teeth bared, mouth yawning wide. Alphonse began to close his eyes. Death seemed his only choice. But just then, the hole in his world fading view... but just then, the world in his fading view exploded. Cool. Cool. Alright, I hope that's not a book series like, for example, a Carnelia book series that we were able to technically collect and find somewhere within the first chapter, but we never, like, you would have to look in very specific places and talk to very specific people at specific points in time, and if you missed a certain event, you wouldn't get the book in the end. I got like 3 out of the 11 or 12, no, there's more, no, there's like 11 books and I got 3 of them randomly. I hope this is not the exact type of thing. What I do like about this book reading experience, I can flip a page backwards. I was not able to do that in Trails in the Sky the Third. I would have to just open up the book again and skip through the pages again to the point where I was at. Male student. Man, the weather is perfect today. The fish are really gonna be biting today. Looks like he's a student from one of the upper classes. No, he's not. He is the leader of the fishing club. He's Kenneth. Hey there, haven't met you yet. You've got one of those red uniforms on, so I guess you're from the class 7. That's right, my name's Rean Schwarzer. Are you a first year too? Yep, I'm Kenneth Lakelord, class 2. No, of course he's a student, but still, he's Kenneth. I'm part of the Imperial Fishing Club. It's really laid back, you'd like it. But yeah, pleasure's all mine. Likewise, he is pretty laid back himself, especially for a noble. I take it the Imperial Fishing Club's about... fishing? You catch on quick! Trista's supposed to be a great place for fishing. I hear there are a ton of different fish you can catch here. I'm just trying to figure out the right spot. Seems like you're having fun at least. You've done a bit of fishing in your time, haven't you? How about giving it another shot? Well, sure, but... how'd you know that? Just a hunch. Well then, from one fisherman to another... Fishing book. Beginner rod. Are you sure I can have these? I feel kinda bad just getting all this stuff for nothing. Don't even sweat it, the Imperial Fishing Club's here to spread the joy of fishing. So, it's all good. You'll be starting off as a white angler, but don't think too much about that, just fish away at your heart's content. What? Just ignore that for now, it's not all that important. Oh yeah, once you've started landing some big catches, come back and talk to me. I'll trade you some cool prizes for your points. Prizes? Points? What is going on? Now that that's all explained, it's time for me to head off. I've got some fish to catch. I'll be fishing at the pond on the campus if you want to join me. I'm still confused about some of the stuff he said, but oh well. Still, now that I have a rod, it wouldn't hurt to start fishing again. Let's see, the label says it's made by the Lakelord Company? Wait a minute, isn't Lakelord his last name? His family must be pretty famous then, and I'd assume experts on fishing. Huh. was looking over there, right? Seems like it could be a decent fishing spot. The pond he mentioned is available too, so maybe I'll give that a shot when I have the time. You can now view the fishing tab in your notebook. At fishing points, you can fish a set number of times. By catching fish, you'll earn angler points, and the amount of you get will depend on the variety and size of the fish you catch. Get fishing to earn more points. You can check how many points you have by choosing Note in the camp menu or pressing Burr to choose Burr. Times 5. Talking to Kenneth will allow you to exchange your angler points for items. As your angler rank increases, you will have more items available to trade for. Hot stuff. Trista House. Nice hat. My husband's become completely unbearable. The only words out of his mouth when he comes home at night are bath, dinner, and sleep. What? Has he convinced himself that I'm his personal maid? I can't stand him anymore. He has no respect for the fact that I take care of everything at home. Yeah. Should have thought sooner about that one. Email. I should get this room cleaned up before dinner. I wouldn't want my home tutor to show up while it's still a mess. Where did my chair go? I finally managed to get Annie to stop hanging all over me too. I can't imagine a worse place to study than right here. Hey, I saw a weird guy at the river earlier. He had a bucket and a long stick and was just staring at the water. I wonder what he was doing. I wonder what that guy at the river was doing. I should talk to him if I see him again. Excited about fishing, huh? I know just another girl who's excited about fishing. I know just the one. I'm not talking about me. I'm not. Fish. Fish, change rod, use ground bait, 0 remaining. Instructions. After casting your lure, press B when an exclamation mark appears. A fish will bite. Reeling in the fish after you get a bite, repeatedly press the indicated button to reel in the fish. Okay, that's PlayStation controls right there on that picture. I've got an Xbox 360 controller. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Fish. Wow, you can... Ah, that's much easier.
Caught one.
Caught one. Sword, tail, 5 points. Size, burr, plus 1 point. For the size, new catch, 10 points. Okay, so we got a total of 16 points, and we've caught 1 out of 20 types. Coughed up 20 water Zephyth. What's with Zephyth being... beginning with a small letter? Why do you recover CP?
Huh.
I can fish 4 more times. Is that better in terms of size?
Bad.
5 reach, 5 points for the swordtail, smaller than the last one. 10 Zephyth this time.
Huh.
Ooh, jeez.
Not bad.
Okay, plus 2 points for that size, which is good. I'm probably gonna get 30 water Zephyth now. Cool. Give me something else than a swordtail. Pretty, please. That's a swordtail.
one.
Caught one. No, don't do that. Please, please.
Huh.
I only have one rod, so there's no changing that. But that's probably gonna be a reward as well. Getting a better rod at one point when I increase my fishing rank.
Not bad.
Alright. Okay, that's that. Nice. Very easy to do and very interesting. So, I've got my windows open, so that's when you hear cars honking, it's probably because they got married and they're now making a lot of noise, like driving through town. I don't appreciate it much, but, oh well, I mean, they're happy, so I guess, I don't care much. Yeah, that's about it. Hey you, Sister Ornella. A student from Thors will be coming here to help us today. She apparently wishes to be a sister too. I look forward to her arrival. A student from Thors will be coming here to help us. I'm sure she can be much of a help. When I skip my dialogue, I basically make up the dialogue myself. Around 50 years have passed since the Orbital Revolution took place. Our lives have become far more convenient now thanks to the invention of governments. However, it is important that we remain humble even now. One must never forget to be thankful for the life they've been given. It is important that we always remain humble, regardless of anything else. One must never forget to be thankful for the life they've been given. Can't remember their names either. Rudy. My sister is the receptionist at Thors. Sounds like she's got a busy month ahead of her. Maybe hanging out with Kay will cure my boredom. She's got a busy month. Hey, I gotta annoy Teisel some more today. This'll teach her to make fun of me. I don't know. I don't know how you're not bored of this yet. You get that she's just going to tell you off again, don't you? I gotta annoy Teisel some more. I remember Teisel to be a boy. I got that wrong. Are you Teisel? You're a girl? You're a girl? I guess. I guess if the game gave me a better shot at her. Okay, fair. So Teisel's actually a girl. Cool stuff. The upper class dorm houses not only the upper class dorm houses not only the upper class students, but their personal servants as well. Those servants are very capable. Zarifa has always been amazing, and one of the new arrivals, Celestin, is especially talented. But I could learn something from practically every servant here. Unlike me, Zarifa and Celestin both serve highly regarded households. I'm sure there's plenty I can learn from them. I can enter? Did not expect that. Butler Celestin, welcome to the upper class dormitory. As its name would imply, this is the dormitory for students in classes 1 and 2. I beg your pardon, but I cannot quite place your uniform. Ah, my apologies, the red uniform represents class 7. I am unfamiliar with the name, but have not yet seen the uniform. Congratulations on your successful enrollment. Are you here to visit one of our students? I would be more than happy to call for someone for you. Oh, no, I was just stopping by. Is that so? A member of the family I serve is also enrolled this year, much like yourself. It might not be my place to say, but I do hope that you get along with the upper class students. I'd like that too. I was transferred here to keep a watchful eye on a member of the family I serve, although my opportunities to interact with you and your classmates will be few and far between. I sincerely hope that you will get along swimmingly with the upper class students. Let's see if I talk to some of them. I shouldn't go past here without a proper reason. Fair. That's fair. But we're gonna go past there with a proper reason later on. Female student. Oh, hello! If you're looking for someone, you're probably out of luck. Almost everyone is gone. It is our free day after all. Can't let it go to waste hanging around in the dorm. Do you know how nerds spend their free time? There's no reason to head past here. Because if you don't, I mean, they would probably just spend a lot of time in the dorm. Anyways. Okay, let's go into the courtyard of Thors Military Academy. Alright, before we continue though, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you in the next episode as well. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!